Hey everyone, and welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be completely dedicated to all of your piercing horror stories. You guys sent some really good ones in, so I really appreciate it, and let's get into the video. This one's from Sendalen. I hope I pronounced that right. I'm sorry if I didn't. I went to get my ears pierced at a tattoo and piercing shop a friend of mine's brother owned. There were two tattooists and a guy who did piercings. The guy who did the piercings had to leave so he could drive his kids to their mother's house after school. My friend's brother was in the middle of doing a consultation with a client, and the other guy, I'll call him Rick, wasn't busy. So Rick looks at me and says, "What kind of piercing were you going to get?" I told him, "I just want to get my earlobes redone." He says, "I can do ears if you want." I not only didn't want him to, I was also a big pussy at the time. No, I can wait," I told him. "Nah, come on, sit down. We'll get your ears pierced." So I get up and I'm thinking he must have some training if he's going to do it. Haha. Lordy. I sit down, he pulls a needle I didn't see him take out of a new container. I said, "Please use a new needle." He says, "This one was taken out before guy who's supposed to be doing the piercings left." This is already terrifying. Like, it was terrifying from the get-go because this guy sounds like he possibly is a tattoo artist, or he may just be like the guy at the shop front. If a needle has been opened, even if it hasn't been used, it needs to be used like immediately. You don't like open one, then like leave, and then someone else can pick that needle up and use it. Even you can't come back and use that needle because it's not sterile anymore. It needs to be used immediately, and that is disgusting. This is not completely unheard of. Like, you probably will find places that do this sort of thing where it's like the needle wasn't used, so technically it's new. No, we are not okay with that. So I said, "Please put on gloves, disinfect, and get a new needle." I love that you're very assertive and you're telling the man what to do because he's no clue, obviously, so good job. Going gloveless with a needle I found questionable. Definitely. Maybe for a home piercing that we watch all the time, they seem to go gloveless and that seems to be okay for them, but not in a professional studio, that does not fly. Reluctantly, he agrees to the client's wishes. He puts on gloves, disinfects my ears, struggles for 15 minutes with horribly shaking hands to take out the new needle. He has no idea what he's doing. He's definitely never done this before. If someone's shaking that much, it's like, well, we're gonna give this a go. Don't know what I'm doing. I'm terrified. He lines it up without a clamp. I can see his hand shaking out of the corner of my eye. I'm about to tell him no, and he says, 3. He shoves the needle in, his hand jerks, the needle goes into my earlobe sideways, pops out the other side and stabs me in that soft squishy bit behind my earlobe. Dear Lordy, this is awful. I stifle my screaming, he tries to pull it out. My friend's brother rushes out horrified. He takes off his gloves, puts on new ones, he grabs paper towel to keep it from bleeding too bad. He calls guy who's supposed to do the piercings, tells him to hurry up. The guy comes in almost 10 minutes later. He's horrified. He's very careful pulling it out, asks if I need a trip to the ER. I tell him, no, I'm okay. I told him I'd rather wait. I'm so sorry. You shouldn't have to apologize. This is not your fault at all. As in you, the client. What the f are you sorry for? You got stabbed in the side of the head by a moron who made you believe he was qualified to give you anything but a tattoo. I'm so sorry. P.S. Rick no longer does tattoos. Rickety Rick, rockety rook, ruck rook. Rick, you are the worst person I've ever heard of in my life, and I genuinely hope that he never pierced anyone else, and I'm so sorry that you had to go through that and experience that. Sounds like you were his test dummy, and that is not okay. This one's from Essie. A piercing horror story I have about someone else. While my friend and I were in high school, he turned to me in class one day and said, "I want earrings." So I said, "Okay, let's hit up a parlor after school. Can you afford it?" And he goes, "No, I meant now." So he asks around the classroom and sources a spare earring from this girl and agrees to return it to her at lunch. At lunch, I'm walking to find a seat and I spot him and this girl sitting at a table, trying to shove the blunt earring through his ear. I come over and tell him to stop. He's making a bloody mess and it'll get infected. He calls me boring and they keep trying to shove it through. I left. The next week, his ears were hurt. They were so insanely infected. Even he knew there was no saving it, so he took the earrings out and now has two beautiful oblong scars on his lobes. It seems like a very common thing in like high schools that kids will do this. However, people don't understand that this can be extremely, extremely dangerous. Not only is it dangerous because you don't know what you're doing and because the piercing can get infected, the infection is almost one of the least of your worries. Like sharing jewelry with anyone is one of the most dangerous and worst things you could do because you do not know. Not saying everyone is just walking around with infectious diseases, but if someone were to have some sort of disease, that could very well be transferred to you because you're sharing body jewelry. This is why you can't do things like return body jewelry and that sort of thing, because it is a high risk. It is so dangerous. Anyone who ever thinks they can not only pierce themselves with the blunt jewelry of their friend or any blunt jewelry to begin with, but like sharing jewelry is a big no-no. Like that is so bad. This one's from Becca Bear. When I was 16, I went with my best friend to get our belly buttons pierced. My friend was not afraid of needles or of pain, so she went first and everything was fine. Me, on the other hand, have a fear of pain and of needles, causing me in the past to faint. Due to this, the piercer had me lay down and gave me a lollipop beforehand. Despite these precautions, once I was pierced, you can hear me say no, 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 no. And then I passed out. At the time my friend was filming and you hear my jaw snap together, crushing the lollipop in my mouth before seeing my eyes roll back and my body seize. The piercer remained calm and held either side of my abdomen until I came to. 10 out of 10 would do it again. My piercer is the only one I have ever gone to in my 5 piercings, and for me the experience was fine. Woke up feeling much better but confused how my lollipop had broken. Wow, I'm glad you got it done. However, I am a little bit concerned with letting someone suck on a lollipop while they're getting a piercing. If this sort of thing was to happen and you do pass out, you can choke on that. So pretty much you're just adding an extra danger to the entire piercing. Personally, I wouldn't give a lollipop to suck on during just because of the dangers of it. I'm glad you were okay during all of that though. Just a little scary because you could have choked. This one's from Lizard Wizard. When I was younger, either in the 2nd or 3rd grade, I wanted to get my earlobes pierced. So my mum ended up taking me to Claire's. There are a lot of Claire's stories in here, which is terrifying. I sat there and everything was going fine till the lady who was piercing my ears went, huh? Then proceeded to tell little insecure me that my ears are crooked. This should have been a red flag. So she ended up free-handing the marks. Then of course, since it's Claire, she used a piercing gun and it hurt like hell. When she gave me the mirror, I could tell that my piercings were crooked, but I acted like I liked it anyways. Already, you're completely correct in saying that that was a red flag because you do not comment on people's bodies. Everyone has a completely different body. Everyone has different shapes, different sizes. Everything's normal. Just putting it out there that everything is normal because everyone is completely different. There is no specification of like what the body is and what it should look like and this is the perfect body or this is the perfect ear or anything like that. Everyone has a different body and that is what makes us unique, and like, fuck this lady, seriously. Continuing on. But it turns out that she told my mom that I was supposed to keep them in for 6 months instead of weeks. Fast forward to month 5 and I wake up one morning to notice that I can't feel the back of my earring when I tried to clean it that morning. I'm panicking because I think I lost the back because it fell off in my sleep. But this was not the case. After searching for 30 minutes with my mom, she decided to look at the back of my lobe and noticed that it was in my ear. My piercing had swallowed the whole back in one night. She called my father, who taught surgical technology. He told her to come to the school. We drove and then proceeded to remove the back from my ear. He ended up taking pictures to show his students later. Needless to say, don't use a piercing gun, not worth it. 100% not worth it. Most people would know that the backings that are used on like piercing gun jewelry, so like those earrings, they're like those butterfly back ones. No one wants to be using those. You want to be using barbells or labret bars. These are just not okay. I'm so sorry that happened. This one's from Kate Essex. So my friend wanted to get a double helix piercing. She'd had a few at that point, so it shouldn't have been a big deal. We went to the shop we'd never been to before, but we'd heard good things about them, so thought they'd be a reputable place to go. We arrive at the shop and book her in. And when the piercer comes over to us to bring her into the room, my friend asks if I can join her because she's a fainter and she was a bit nervous. The piercer said no, which was fair enough, I guess, but I was a bit scared of my friend fainting on this woman. But anyway, she goes in by herself and I'm sitting there waiting and waiting and waiting, and finally the piercer comes out, but my friend's nowhere to be seen. The piercer asked someone to come into the room with her. About 10 minutes later, my friend comes out looking super pale and a few employees from the shop start crowding around her. My friend finally gets away and tells me what happened. The piercer was an apprentice, but she hadn't been told beforehand and there was no piercer in there with them overseeing anything. Oh my God, this is the damn worst. That's so bad. She had put the needle in and the jewelry slipped out when she was putting it through, so she missed the piercing and the needle came out. Her ear started bleeding quite a lot, so much that the piercer had to change her gloves. She couldn't get the jewelry in, and that's what the second piercer was helping with. Thankfully and surprisingly, my friend didn't faint. They tried to convince her to get the second piercing after all that, but she ended up getting a voucher to come back, which never happened. Yeah, wow, that is actually terrible. To begin with, if an apprentice or a trainee is doing a piercing, they need to tell you. It needs to be communicated with the client and you don't have to do it. You can turn that down 100% if you do not want them doing it. And they should have their mentor or the person who is training them like watching over. There is no way that they should not have someone watching them. Like that is so crazy. I wonder why they thought that was okay. This one's from Alex Wilson. When I was in 2nd or 3rd grade, I got my ears pierced at the mall with a piercing gun. I got cheap jewelry because it was a mall piercing place. A few months later, the metal covering it chipped off inside my ear and my ear swelled up and got infected. My mum had to take the earring out, then pick out the chipped off metal. It hurt so bad, but after that I could wear earrings again. And I want to get second lobes pierced, but at an actual piercing place. That is extremely insane. I have no idea what crappy jewelry they possibly could have been using. That sounds like it could be some sort of fake fashion jewelry. There is no way anything should or could chip off titanium, but clearly they wouldn't have even had titanium to purchase even if you wanted to. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please give me a like down below and subscribe if you are new here. Let me know down below which one just like shook you, because some of them I'm definitely a little shaken by, and I haven't even got through them all, so I feel like this is going to be a little bit of a series so that I can continue telling your stories, because I'm loving reading them and reading them out to all of you guys. So thank you so much, and you can continue sending them in if you wish.